This will be my review of the brand new Superman movie. I'm gonna bust through the non-spoiler segment. Go see this movie. I genuinely believe, especially if you're like, I don't know, a comic book fan, if you just enjoy, a pretty solid action film, a film with like good storytelling, I think this movie is just very good, very solid overall. If you're over the superhero thing, you're probably not going to see it anyway. You might find it a bit cheesy. This movie is very, and this isn't a spoiler, but it's very comic booky. And as a comic book fan, I loved it. So yeah, non-spoiler review, very good film. I would probably give it, goodness gracious, an 8 or 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. Now, for the spoiler review, dude, this is a comic book movie. This is a comic book Superman. This is somebody who really embodies good. Okay? He's somebody who desires above all else to help and save any being that he can. We see multiple times throughout the film him going out of his way to protect dogs and squirrels and then of course human beings and just trying to limit the collateral damage as much as possible. And I know there's a huge contention online between Man of Steel slash Henry Cavill fans and this brand new look, nobody liked Man of Steel as much as I do. Nobody liked a lot of the old DC stuff as much as I do. But this is just, it's so different and it's also just so good. It is such a good, man. Nicholas Hoult, I don't know a lot of the actors' names, my bad, but Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, dog, that is Lex Luthor. He is, I don't remember the last time we got a Lex Luthor. Maybe Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor in like little bits here and there. But Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is so evil and just revels in it and blatantly calls out the fact that he realizes he's driven by envy, that he just hates Superman, that his entire everything he's trying to do, all the scheming and all of that he's trying to do throughout the whole film, the end goal is to kill Superman. That's why he clones him to make Ultraman. That's why he makes the engineer by outfitting a former special ops with like nanites in her blood. That's why he does all kinds of things. That's why he imprisons Metamorpho. So, well, they call him the Element Man in this. Maybe that's another name for him. I'm gonna refer to him as Metamorpho. For anybody who's seen the trailer, he's the guy who's like in a quadrant and he can like make his body into things. That's why he imprisons Metamorpho, who can like make his body into whatever element. So he makes kryptonite in order to imprison Superman, and he he keeps Metamorpho's baby like across the hall, essentially from him, constantly reminding him like, "Hey, we have your kid," with like a guard. "We have your kid, so you're gonna do what we say." That was another character that they nailed everybody. Everybody, even the characters that like I was hoping we'd maybe get a little bit with, but we didn't, but what we got was still good. Hawk Girl, they did very well. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, so good. Mr. Terrific, so good. Metamorpho, very cool, very well done. And just, man, I can't drive home enough. I love Ma and Pa Kent, they nailed it. Everybody at the Daily Planet, they did really well. They did a great job of like Lois Lane being a reporter was not a secondary thing about her. It was very much like the Lois Lane of comic books. That's her desire. As much as Superman desires to be Superman and to help people, more rather to like do as much good as possible, Lois Lane desires that in a very similar way, but with like good reporting, being a good journalist, and she nails that character. And there's a wonderful scene like we see in the trailers of her interviewing Superman, and that actually is even better, obviously, in the film because it's more in depth. You see more of his character, that he is not just what I think a lot of people have as their in the brain version of Superman, that he's very bland and he's just a good Boy Scout. Like, I think people have a faulty understanding of what it can mean to be good sometimes and what you have to sacrifice for that. And we see that time and time again with this Superman, of him sacrificing his well-being for the good. He sacrifices in certain circumstances, even though you later find out a lot of it is manufactured. He sacrifices his public appearance for doing the more good thing. But man, this movie is just so good. It feels like you have just picked up a comic book or maybe an omnibus and you're just like, let me read a couple of quick Superman stories, and you get this, man. I was very interested by what they did with Ultraman, who was almost kind of like, they took the name of Ultraman, which this is not at all Ultraman from the comics. He's not like evil Earth 2 Superman. And then they gave him a bit of Bizarro because Lex specifically points out that he's like dumb and things like that, but he doesn't have the Bizarro look. It was kind of obvious to me, and maybe I'm just too much of a comic book nerd, where they were going with it, because there's a scene where they get into the Fortress of Solitude, and like the engineer is looking at Lex like, what? How do we get in here? Like, only Superman can get in here. And they don't focus on it then, but obviously it's because Ultraman, you later find out, is a clone, as I said earlier, that Lex created. And man, it's interesting. There's nothing really that I can think about whenever I think of the film that I have to complain about. There were a couple of things that like in the moment I was like, I don't know about that. There's one scene specifically where whenever they break out of their jail cells, Metamorpho tells Superman, "You have to take my son because I can't take him whenever I'm like transitioning, essentially, or whenever I'm like becoming, not transitioning, but whenever I'm like becoming other elements and stuff." And at first, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense because he, like, the top half of his body remains the same and he can kind of fly because of elements, whatever. But then later, you see, I mean, he blows himself up essentially, and you can be holding the kid while you do that. That won't go well. But man, a lot of good action. I loved Crypto, and Crypto. It's so, man, Crypto, the super dog, was used for like a useful point. He was pivotal in the final fight. He's pivotal in other points, and he also is good for a laugh. I love him and Mr. Terrific's interaction. And whenever Mr. Terrific realizes that Superman brought Crypto to the big final fight, and it's just, oh man, it's good. And the Justice Gang, Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific. It was funny. It was, it did wear a little thin, the whole thing of like, oh man, only Guy Gardner likes the Justice Gang name, until Metamorpho comes, and Hawk Girl is like, we should have Metamorpho a part of the team, and Guy Gardner's like, not a chance. And Metamorpho is like, oh, the Justice Gang? Yeah, I like that name. And Guy Gardner's like, you're in, 100%. But that was maybe one of the few things that like wore thin. I'm sure, I know other people had their reservations that they were for, oh, it's gonna be woke. It's go woke, go broke. I don't know how this movie is gonna do at the box office, but I didn't see anything about this movie that was abundantly or overly political. That there are political things that they deal with in the world of Superman, but there was nothing in it where I'm sitting there, and we all know these feelings, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on, where you're sitting there watching a movie and you're like, all right, now I'm kind of taken out of it because it's obvious you're trying to make a message. There was none of that. Like, the message of this film is, at least what I took out of it, was we should desire to do good no matter the cost. And man, Superman just embodies that so well. There's a beautiful, regardless if James Gunn, which I doubt he would, but regardless if James Gunn intended it to be so, there's a beautiful comparison between Superman and Jesus, specifically in this film, in that all throughout the film, the children love Superman. Whenever they can, they run up to him and he embraces them in their arms. It's children in the final act of the film who are literally waving a Superman flag in the face of like the enemy forces who are coming to exterminate them. And it just reminds me of, Jesus talking about, these will be who inherit the kingdom. Like, you must have a faith like them. And whenever he stops the apostles from stopping the children from coming to see them, he says, don't hinder the children from coming to me. Like, there is this perfect goodness that is both found in the true person of Jesus and in the fictionalized version of what Superman can be sometimes, that adults, we have all of our preconceptions, we have all of our things that make us guarded, but children don't have those guards yet. They have yet to become hardened by the world, and they just view the goodness and they run to it. Man, such a good movie. Again, highly recommended. I'm gonna remove the 8 that I said previously. 9 out of 10. Really highly recommended. It's a very tonally different movie. Yes, it's obviously a James Gunn movie. There's funny bits, there's comedy, but and I saw some other reviews where people were saying like, oh, you couldn't really go so long without a joke, and none of the drama felt dramatic. I didn't get that. Maybe I'm just dumb. Whatever. That could be it. But what I got was a very healthy balance. That there are some very intense scenes and they're allowed to breathe, they're allowed to be. And then there are also some pretty funny scenes, nothing like, oh my gosh, the funniest thing ever, but just, solid humor, and they're allowed to be as well. Like, it's this wonderful balance, and there's a lot going on in the film. There's a lot of different characters, but nothing feels overcrowded. Everybody feels like you really get a decent bit of them. Jimmy Olsen has a funny little side plot in this movie, and even that you see to its fruition, and it's a good conclusion. Like, man, again, I cannot highly recommend this movie enough. And one of the things I kind of appreciated, this film has two post-credit scenes, and neither of them are like, oh, there's a big bad coming. Like, it's not that. Like, and I believe I've heard James Gunn talk about that. All the movies, all the projects in this universe are their own things, and not that like things can't culminate, but it's like, it's not all about like, well, you got to see the next one to really get the story. Like, no, man, the Superman movie is in this movie. And hopefully, Lord willing, it does well and we get more with the Superman, because I do think this is a very good comic book Superman. And again, I loved Henry Cavill's Superman. I loved a lot of the old DCEU, but goodness gracious, if this and a lot of other, and I mean all of James Gunn's other DC works are a sign of what is to come, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for Peacemaker season 2. I'm pumped for the body horror Clayface movie. I'm pumped for all of it, man. So, if you've seen the movie, if you plan on seeing the movie, let me know what you think below. Did this review make you want to see it? Did this review ruin the movie for you? I don't know. If there are other movies you'd like to see me review in the future, be sure to let me know those below in the comments. But as always, even if you hated the movie, if you hated the review, what have you, God loves you, and I love you. God bless, my friend. Consider supporting me today by going to thelordsgiant.com and making a donation or picking up some merch, or by finding me on Patreon.